Segment 3, Gold and Black Live. Brian Newbert joins us out of the bullpen here for the finish. Morgan is you got a lot on your plate, and one of the things is obviously a lot of fans have had an opportunity to be surveyed, but the facilities master plan, the football master plan. Give us kind of where you are now and what's up with that at this point.
Well, I think the first thing to recognize, the football master plan is a lot more than just facilities. It's made up of a number of factors. The right staff composition, the ability to be efficient and effective in recruiting, and then to measure the effectiveness. The whole sports performance area to make sure that you're state-of-the-art in terms of what you're doing there. The use of technology, particularly as it relates to being able to take this amazing amount of video content that comes your way and sift through it as quickly as you possibly can to drive your recruiting process. And then finally, facilities. So I don't want people to think we're just going to go out and do facilities because that'll get us where we want to be. It's got to be part of an entire plan. But we started January 15 to do a comprehensive review of the football. We're calling them performance facilities because they actually are spread over 3 structures. You have some in Kissel, you have some in the Breeze Center, and you have some in the Mollenkopf. And Populous is the architect that we hired. A lot of national projects, Minnesota and Baylor on the tour on the collegiate front. And I think, and Hunt is the construction manager. Hunt was the construction manager during phase 1 of Ross A. Their deliverable is a multi-year plan. I think it'll be similar to the Mackey complex. That's will deal with the output of this comprehensive review and targets to provide a report by year-end by 2015 to the president of the board of trustees. And again, I think it'll be a series of projects. I think people think of just one big project. If you think about Mackey, remember we moved the Grand Prix track and we did a football practice. You're going to have some level of sequencing in that. The first phase of the project has already been approved, and that's the concrete in the stadium, which is $2.7 million that we'll fund through internal reserves. We've saved for that, and that needs to be accomplished. So what are the key findings to date? Well, on the performance facilities, what they have found, and this won't surprise anybody, is the actual practice fields, indoor and outdoor, state-of-the-art. We have absolutely no problems there. We're not behind anybody when it comes to that. The 3 areas that you've got issues on all are auxiliary spaces. The first is your locker room and equipment room. Both of them were built in 1982. You can't retrofit them. If we could, we would. We brought Populous in a year ago to look at it, and the space, the footprint is just too small to do what you want to do. Secondly is the weight training area. The spaces doesn't allow us to use the whole team practicing at one time. You say, why is that important? Well, these kids got a lot on their plate time-wise. We can take 30 to 40 minutes out of their day because they can all train together and not be sequenced. That's important. Plus, there is a camaraderie of having your entire team together. The third one is instructional space. The kids spend more time in a classroom today than they do out on the practice field. So your ability to have really well-designed AV capacity is important. So those 3 areas affect the development of your current roster, but they also have an impact on the attractiveness to people who come in. You know, an 18-year-old or 17-year-old, right or wrong or indifference, will measure the degree of commitment to a program sometimes by cosmetic features. So you can't ignore them. I know to some people it seems superfluous, but you've got to take that into account. So the current thinking is we'll do something on the north end of the Mollenkopf, and I've seen some of the preliminary renderings. I think people like them. I'm particularly concerned because I come to work that way. I would like, as you come over Northwestern, to see something that is a nice way to say welcome to Purdue. The pole barn that we have, so-called Mollenkopf, we've done the best we can to put signage on it, but I think you'll see that it'll be tremendously enhanced. On the stadium, we did receive 5,000 responses to the survey, and that was very good. Something I've learned in the process is 1/3 of the 310 or so million Americans were born after 1980. So your viewing habits for this group are really different. And the national trend, as I mentioned, will be towards smaller venues with a more variety of seating options. So they're working on that right now. I think a couple of things. We're looking for integration opportunities on campus. We've had very preliminary discussions with the band. They might want to move their practice facilities out of Elliott. If they can fundraise and raise the necessary resources, we'd be happy to have them. Same thing with the Boilermaker Special. We're exploring whether a food court could go on the second story of this particular building, serve for our athletes as well as maybe a healthy sports performance option for students in general. And what the Hall of Innovation is probably one of the most exciting concepts to me, because it creates a front entryway to the stadium. And on non-game days, it's just a perfect place to start your campus tours. We had 42,000 applications last year for 6,800 freshman spots. The best thing you could do is get in there and think of, Times Square and 2 large video displays, constantly scrolling the video content about all the great things of Purdue. So make it a place you would celebrate the icons of Purdue, not just athletic. Game day will flip the switch to football, but we want to find some ways to integrate with the campus. So you're going to have a variety of seating options. I think people, as they filled the survey out, got a glimpse of some small pictures to give them a sense for what it was like. The second piece will just be technology. You made the comment in the first section, what causes people to get off the couch with these high def. You've got to have the right mix of technology. So lights will come in. We know there'll be more night games. We know there'll be more night games now because we have 14 Big Ten teams. There are only so many TV windows. You're going to have to play more night games at some point, or even late afternoon games. So you might as well build that into your structure. You will have 2 video boards, one on the north and one on the south. We've learned as we've gone through. Originally, we thought the larger board would be on the south. We've now changed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's because the people who are going to be in this new seating section, as well as the premium seats, have a better view of the board rather than being up above them. You'll have a smaller board in the south end zone, a ribbon board around the perimeter. Cell coverage should be in this year, and then we'll look at Wi-Fi, but nobody's really quite figured that out. I know I saw something on Florida State recently where they're going to do it, but I've heard enough horror stories. I'd like to see some people fail, figure out what's really the right. And I think by the time we get there, we'll figure that out. And then we'll have a new sound system, which we desperately need. So it'll be a sequence of projects like Mackey. And I like to think of it as an accordion. You'll have a logical sequence. Timeline can be reduced if you're hot. If you're not hot, you have to pace it. Because we know to do what we need to do in a stadium, we've got to get people excited about football. And the way you do that is you perform better in the stadium. We're mindful of that. The training facility or the performance facility, you need that now to develop your roster and also to recruit. And again, if we could retrofit the auxiliary space, we'd stay where we are. The weight room is 1/2 the size of what we would like to have. I can't bump the wall out. There's no way to do it. So if we could retrofit the space and just make it a little more attractive, we'd do it. But you can't do it.
But you have the room from the north end of Mullencough, almost talking to some of the folks at Populous that may potentially could go all the way to Northwestern.
I don't think it'll go that far, but it will definitely go across the building, and probably the weight room would come around, so you'd almost have an L-shaped form. But I want to make sure aesthetically it looks right. I know that to me is a big deal, because we're trying to anticipate what we need for the next 15 or 20 years in both venues. So you want to do it right.
Yeah.
I know you have pretty detailed information in terms of how much time a football player, for example, spends walking from here to here, here to here, here to here. It seems like the crux of what you want to do facility-wise is make the most of your space so they make the most of their time.
Right.
How much do you need to sell those practicalities to the trustees, to donors, whoever else to get this through, or is this a situation where you can just go to people and say, this is what football needs?
I think you got to. I think these are pretty smart people. You lay out the logic for what you're doing. In typical engineering fashion, we did probably had some industrial engineer out there doing that. I think they'll understand it, and I try to give them, when I explain instructional space, I try to explain why that's important. More time in the classroom. The weight room, we're trying to compress the time as well as build esprit de corps. And in your locker room and lounge, your entryway into the building has to be something that's a little bit more pronounced. When you walk into Mackey in the atrium, it has a nice look and feel to it. Some people have done some stuff that probably wouldn't fit our culture, to be honest with you. It's just a little bit
excessive.
Yeah, I think so. And so you have to, the older the donor is, and I guess I'm falling into those categories, you got to be sensitive to what they think. But at the end of the day, the things you need to do to make the building pop, if you will, are a penny on the dollar. It's not that big a deal. You guys got to get the right layout. And I think down below, if I were to say it in simplest terms, down below is where they get ready to practice. You'll have your locker room, sports med area. It won't replicate what we have over in Mackey, but it'll you know, taping and the hydrotherapy and the like. Your equipment will be across the hallway, access to the weight room, access to Mollenkopf, access to the practice fields. Your upper level will be your meeting space, your instructional space. It'll have a lounge where the guys can hang out when they've got some free time, but a pretty pronounced lobby with some glass that'll be very attractive. Then upstairs will be the suite for the coaches. And people have been up there. You know, the video technology is really important today, and you guys both been up there. We got people in closets. I mean, you just didn't, in 1989, you didn't have that stuff. So it's not a matter of being able just to fix up some space and plug some new equipment in. You just got to reprogram space.
Timetable, again, depending totally on. I mean, you know, can you win enough from that standpoint? But you still would hope to have some things started on this within the next year.
Well, you're gonna, you know, again, I don't know. I'm not gonna. You never trump your board.
Yeah, good
so
idea.
I have, you know, we'll present the project and we'll have some ideas on what phase 2 should be, when we think we can do it. This will require a capital campaign. Nancy Cross reminded me we haven't done a capital campaign since 1999 in athletics. The last one, we did the pool. And the rest of them, we've done some premium seating and some other stuff. So this is one, so to get that level of support from people, whether it be, you know, with 7 figures or 6 figures or 5 figures or 4 figures, you're going to have to show them that you're starting to make some progress. So the stadium probably comes as you move the program along, but I think people deserve to see the entire plan so they can see what we're trying to drive. And again, it's like an accordion. If we get where we want to be a little quicker, it'll move a lot faster, and we'll go forward. You know, the good news is your city, although you have the markets are a little squirrely with all the activity in China right now. You know, there was a time back in 2007-8 when we were working on Mackey, when the Dow was 6,000, you're at 16,000 today. So you have people who have some capacity, but they've got to be sold that this is going to be a good investment. Others are like an IPO, like a private investor. They're going to invest to help you get there. And those are the people we need help from right now to get the training facility piece moved along, which would likely be phase 2. How quickly, whether the board will buy our logic, you know, that's still work under, you know, some work that we've got to do. But I don't think, you know, we were fortunate enough to have President Daniels and 2 of our trustees out in San Diego with us. We were doing little meetings around various locations. We did one in Chicago, we did one in Indianapolis. We had 4 or 5 more trustees. I want to just get them educated, so it isn't just some, you know, they got a big agenda in December, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, you know. And so we're trying to get people, bring them, and they've been very interested and very helpful. And so I, you know, it's just a matter of whether we have the capacity to do it. No state funds. I want to make it clear. You know, we're not looking for the university to bail us out or student fees. We got to do this the old-fashioned way. We've done it. We know how to do it. And you know, I think we look at the future revenue streams. You'll have some money that you can earmark to support this, and you're going to need the capital campaign, and probably some of the seating in the south end zone will kick off a revenue stream each year as well. So it's the way I like to do things. I think you need to have a comprehensive plan and then work at it in a logical sequence and have it set up so you can go as fast as you're humanly possible. But if people are thinking, you know, we're just going to flip a switch in January, I need to help them understand it's too big a project for this. This, in my opinion, is transformative. We've had one transformative project in athletics in the last 65 years. What was it?
Mackey Arena.
Mackey Arena. Big, different architecture. This thing could be the same thing as every stadium, in my opinion, in the country that's not brand new is going to go through this. And they're going to have to resize their stadiums. And, you know, this ticket base, I don't care whether you're in Columbus or State College, they're getting older. And you don't see the younger fans coming in. So if you're sitting there with 110 seats, 110,000, it's a heck of a challenge.
Yeah. Brian, I got time for about one more question. Go ahead.
When you talk about what you want to do from a facility standpoint and how it relates to recruiting, do you look at this as something that you feel can bring facilities to becoming a strength for Purdue or less of a weakness? However, how would you view that?
I view it as you just got to be. I don't think you have to be the best. You always would like to be the best, but the best always lasts a year. Somebody else does something else. You just have to be in the same neighborhood. And when you come into our instructional space, when you come to our locker rooms, come to our weight room, kids come. You've heard Daryl say this. They come. They really look at our facilities and go, wow. Because compared to a high school, it is pretty impressive. Most high schools.
Yeah.
Then you go to some other place. You go, whoa, these people are really serious about football. Well, that's not the case, but that's the impression. Sometimes you don't even get a chance to ask the question of them. They just make that determination, and then you're out of the game. So you gotta. I always say you got to be contemporary, and so I don't think it'll leapfrog anybody, but I think it'll help eliminate a perception that we're not investing in football, which we are.
Yeah. All right, we will. There'll be more on this topic, I'm sure, on down the line, not only in Morgan's daily wheelhouse, but also it's interesting, and from our perspective, our readers and our folks are very interested in what the future of all this is.
Well, we'll try through you and through Tom Schott. We'll try to communicate as we can, but again, I can't get out in front of the board. I've got to recognize that, the board.
There's a process.
That's right. That's right.
And they carry a big stick.
Yeah.
Last time I
They also carry all the money.
That's exactly right.
More importantly.
The approval authority.
Yeah, that's the important thing. So, all right, guys, thanks so much, Brian and Morgan, for joining us, and we will see you next week. Leroy Keys and Terry Kicks are going to join us, talk some football, obviously, but also a very important event that they're going to be involved with. I've committed Terry without actually talking to her, but Leroy just told me that she said that she was going to be able to make it. So we'll look forward to doing that. We'll obviously also preview Purdue, Indiana State. Lots of football to hit as well as this 2015 season gets going. I want to thank our sponsors, XXX, Hilton Garden Inn, State Farm agent Trent Johnson, of course, John Basham and the folks at Basham Rental. We'll look forward to seeing you next week for more on Gold and Black Live.